going to be doing a TBR Unhaul. Okay. Hey. So, that was a lot of books. Since I started book 2, I've added so many books to my TBR list that I've decided to do a TBR Unhaul. Also because my TBR books have been on there for like 10 years, since high school, and if they've been that long and I still haven't picked them up, I feel like they kind of need to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and start, and I'll probably donate them. I live actually really close to a vet center, a center for veterans, and I might donate to them. Some of them I might donate them to a school, although maybe not, because some of them are kind of racy. So I'll have to maybe not this time. But if I continue doing these, which I probably will because I have a lot of books, I will maybe do that later. And the rest I'm probably going to donate to my library and stuff like that. So to start with, there's a book. I'm going to go ahead and start with, just kind of do these en masse. All my romance books. I used to really be into Linda Howard, Laurie Foster, and Linda Layla Miller. I really like their stories. They're mostly romance, but they also often have like a subgenre of like suspense or like a couple westerns. And I don't read that much anymore. I don't read that stuff much. There we go. Anymore. It's just not what I'm into, and if I do read romances, it's not often straight romance. So I've just decided that I'm gonna go ahead and just unhaul those because they've been sitting and I haven't picked them up, and I keep finding other ones I'm interested in. And so someone else who might want to read those or might want them should have them instead of them just sitting in my TBR library or my TBR bookshelf. Also, I do have a bookshelf, a separate bookshelf for my TBRs. These are actually the ones I've read, these two. So this is my TBR shelf. The ones at the top are from friends. I also kind of use this as a bit of a storage thing because I don't know where else to put some things right now. And I have some of these, which ones I think I'll get to first. So the ones at the top, I'm more interested in than the ones at the bottom. You will notice that it's in a different space. That's because I try to guilt myself into reading them by putting it in an easier, accessible place that I see. It doesn't often work, but I try. This is an upstairs bedroom, and my TBR is downstairs, right in the dining room, living room. So I'll see it all the time I walk past it and try to feel guilty about reading something else. It's kind of been hit or miss. Mostly miss, but yeah. Oh, here's another couple romances I'm getting rid of. This is also Linda Howard, and this one is a Joanna Lindsay. I really liked Linda Howard. She was probably my favorite. They didn't feel so formulaic as a lot of romances can. The voices sounded fairly different. The storylines were different. It could be because that she was one of the first romances I read, but I actually read, weirdly enough, Nora Roberts before her, and I didn't like most of Nora Roberts's because they felt all the same to me. Like, you could just interchange the characters and then put them in a different setting, and then it'd be the same story. Hers didn't always feel like that. So if you are into romances, I would kind of recommend you checking her out. The other ones, another one I'm going to kind of just unhaul and en masse, is the Wheel of Time series. Oh, I'm not going to be able to hold that up. By Robert Jordan. I have 9 through like 12 here. I think there's 14. I'm going to buy them all because I hadn't gotten around to them. I started reading these in high school, and I got to book 9. You can see the little bookmark. This is where I stopped. And they're just so cumbersome. They're really interesting, but they're so big, and there's so many other things I want to read, and I just couldn't get into them, and they take me a long time. I'm a fairly quick reader when I want to be, when I'm really into something. And these just were so dense that they would just take me forever, and I would have to kind of solely focus on these books. And I'm not a big fan. And maybe I'll go back to trying to listen to them, but I do know that my library has them on audiobook. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and, I guess, DNF this series and unhaul this for my TBR, just because it is just taking up space, and I really am not into them anymore. If anyone knows how they end, what happens, and wants to share, I'm totally willing to have you have a spoiler in the comment section, because I would like to know. I just don't want to take the time to figure it out. And then the last two are actually, well, one's a series, but I'm TBRing the last book, or sorry, unhauling the last book, and one is by an author that I used to like, and I just kind of forgot I had it. So I found this on my shelf, my TBR shelf, and I actually could not remember buying it. I know this author because I actually read something else of hers that I enjoyed, so that's probably why I got this one. And I just couldn't remember what it was about. I actually read the back, and it's not something I really read now. It's kind of about more paranormal, and it's got a straight romance in it, which, as I mentioned before, is not something I'm often drawn to, not to say that it won't happen. So this one is going as well. And then the last one is the Charlie Bone, I don't even know, book 7. So Charlie Bone and the Shadow. I was actually really into these series. I got into them right after I finished Harry Potter. I like them, but I'm more likely to listen to young adult or this like age book than I am to read it, just because it works better for me. I don't know why. I found out that I like listening to some things better than I like reading, and I like reading things some more than I like listening to. So like I really love reading high fantasy and stuff like that, and I'm more likely to actually listen to young adult fantasy or mystery than I am to read it. I don't know why that is. It's just maybe the way that it draws me in. I think it's just that fantasy is really hard for me to listen to because there's just so much going on. And if you miss, like, sometimes the smallest of details, you're like, wait, what's happening? And you miss part of the story. Going to get rid of eventually the rest of the series. I did like them, like I said, but I don't know that I'll ever go back to them. And if I do, like I said, I'll rent them or borrow them from the library. So someone else should get into these. And if me donating them gets that person into them, perfect. So until my next video, ta-ta for now.